Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this session being conducted by TNV Academy. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Ajay Bajpai. In this webinar today, the topic of discussion with which Mr. Ajay Bajpai is here is energy management objectives, which is covered under clause 6.2 of ISO 50001 standard. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 37001, 22000, 27001, 13485, 22301, and 50001 standards, respectively. If I talk about his overall experience, then Mr. Ajay Bajpai has got over 38 plus years of experience in training, auditing, certification, and accreditation processes. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and their certification and implementation. This was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ajay Bajpai. I may request Mr. Ajay Bajpai now to please take over and start the webinar.
Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me for this session on objectives regarding energy management system. We already had a discussion on energy policy in last seminar. Now this is the first one in the month of February 2023, and we are going to discuss the practical situations where we need to really see how our objectives, pertaining to energy targets are standing with respect to our documentation, and how we are going to achieve them with the implementation plan, with the analysis, and so on. So we start with the situation that yes, energy is something which needs to be conserved, adequately. It needs to be utilized effectively. That is how the terms like significant energy usage are coming into the discussion later on. So what we can start with is to establish the objectives and relevant functions and levels. We have seen organizations going for implementation of the EnMS, but the relevant functions and levels are important for the establishment of the objectives. किसी का mic on है off कर ले, then we'll go on. The organization also needs to establish the energy targets. It is very important that through objectives. So we need to see that we are moving towards the establishment of energy target. That is the entire aim. As an organization, when we go for EnMS system, looking at the energy targets is one of the critical requirement, and that can be defined by way of our objective needs to be consistent with the energy policy. Energy policy has been documented. It had come from the vision and mission of the top management. The team has been involved into the documentation, the implementation, and so on. So when we have to plan the achievement of the policy, this needs to be in the same line and direction. That is what means the consistent with the energy policy. In auditing, sometimes we find that the directions are different. 60-degree is the achievement plan of the policy, and objectives are going at 55 degrees or 80 degrees, or going into a different direction when we talk of different units, energies, and consumptions, and so on. So they need to be in line with each other. Then the implementation will bring the desired results. Be measurable. Objective needs to be, we always say, should be smart, specific. So next is measurable. I means measurable, if practicable. Sometimes the measurement plan may take time. So that is why I said if practicable. Sometimes we have to give time enough for the implementation, and then it becomes naturally measurable after couple of weeks, couple of months, and so on. But as far as possible, let us try to see that they are smart, so that we can make a effective and good measurement of the plans with respect to the objective documentation. Consider applicable requirement. There are various applicable requirements, statutory requirement, regulatory requirements, you know, the country specific requirements of energy conservation, energy utilization, alternative energy sources, renewable energy, solar energy, and so on. So all those applicable implementing the system in an organization, the results many times are not always positive. So that if monitoring is effective, then we can decide the directions as we go on. Objectives needs to be communicated. It needs to be communicated within the organization with the interested parties. We will discuss further into communication so that the team is coming on to the same wavelength and we go on for effective implementation. Also needs to be updated as appropriate. In the month of November 2022, we have documented the objective. So now it is February month coming. So progress have taken place in last 3 months of implementation into the organization. So they need to be updated as appropriate. There must have been changes because of the implementation in various processes. Documentation have been reviewed, revised. The processes might have been modified. So the objective needs to be updated now when we have been through 3 months of implementation into our organization. Also, we need to retain the documented information that is getting linked to the clause 7.5, where the objectives and energy targets are requiring a documentation to be done effectively. Because when we conduct first party, second party, or third party audit, we always look into effective documentation done. So if effective documentation is not done, documents are not retained with respect to objective and energy target, there will be situations of observation, non-conformity, depending upon how much is the gap coming into the documentation and implementation and so on. So now we get into the next clause 6.2.3. When we are planning to achieve objective energy targets, what an organization as the automotive component manufacturing or plastic component manufacturing or into a logistic organizations are going to establish, and what actions to be decided in what way. So it starts with what will be done. When we are talking of documentation and implementation of smart objectives, so we always talk of what will be done, how the energy targets will be achieved, what an objective will say, how the uh, motors and the pumps and the movement into the organization by various cranes and the operations of material movement are taking place. So what will be done to see that yes, we are going to reduce on to optimize on to the energy consumption. What resources will be required? We may have to acquire a more effective driver of cranes, maybe a training of the existing resources may be required, maybe the motors needs to be replaced or changed, or their the energy efficiency needs to be enhanced and so on. So we need to identify what resources will be required, whether we are going to make a semi-automatic or automatic method of material handling. So all those things will be defined here. Who will be responsible? Whenever we are talking of objectives with respect to energy targets achievement, we need to define the responsibility. We are into a situation of stores where a lot of materials are being transported in, out, in, and so on. So who is responsible to see that energy conservation is being taken care with respect to our objectives which we have documented? So whether it is stores manager's responsibility or assistant manager store is responsible, or admin in charge responsible into the transportation, or HRD, whosoever as per our organization's planning is responsible, that needs to be defined so that he is going to effectively implement and he is subject to auditing and further improvements. When we talk of smart objectives, targets means when it will be completed. We have established and thought of a planning that yes, 2% energy conservation will be focused upon the foundry operations of mine when I am into a steel manufacturing unit. So the 2% will be completed when? An objective cannot say we are planning for a 2% reduction. 2% reduction in next 3 months or in next 6 months or 4 months, that needs to be defined so that we can effectively track and results can be evaluated accordingly. So we can see that energy performance is improved upon when we are linking it to clause 9.1, which is a clause for performance monitoring. So this is how the conceptual understanding of objectives with respect to energy targets to meet the requirements of energy policy, which is again smart energy policy, and we are trying to achieve the smart energy policy with by smart objectives and achieve the energy targets to enhance the energy performance. So that's the whole aim. So now what happens next? You understood the plan. So now what we'll do? What are the desired results? When we are going to have this kind of an objectives, what is the going to be the impact of this entire process? The team of the organization is trained on the concepts of objectives and energy targets. So the first thing is the planning is done for the training. We'll discuss further onto this. But once the plan is made, the team is trained onto the concept, not only onto the language and words. Language and words are again important, we'll discuss, but understanding the concepts of energy optimization, energy reduction, energy conservation, and SUE is very much a desired point when we look into objectives of ENMS. Also, energy management system implementation and achievement is ensured by smart objectives. Also, it is a global requirement. At times, it is also a requirement of the customers. So this gives an assurance that yes, we have documented, we are having effective objectives which will lead to the fulfillment of the requirement of the customer with respect to energy performance achievement, which they have given us a direction, maybe into the purchase orders, maybe by discussions, or maybe as one of their requirement before they approve us as one of their suppliers at times. So this all keeps on happening into the business processes when we are talking of energy management system implementation. Objective should be auditable and question answer clarity. The language should be such that the questions can be raised by the internal auditors, second party auditors, or third party auditors. We also have to see that they should come out with clear cut meanings. As we said, who will do it, how it will be done, when it will be met, means target oriented. Those meanings should be very, very clear. Language should not be fragile, and language should be logical. Sometimes we find into auditing that yes, organization will say today their energy performance is 97%. Suddenly they will say we will meet 99.9% in 1 month. So that will not happen. That may not happen. So that becomes an illogical statement at times. So we need to see what is the datum line, what is the baseline, how is the energy performance, how the energy consumption is there into different department, different units by having different energy meters installed so that the documentation is clear of their results. So we, according to that baseline or datum line or baselines levels, we make a logical statement to move on further. And then only the auditors can ask question, and then it becomes auditable, and then improvements can be planned in a way that our top management direction is met. Also, we need to see that it meets the needs of the interested parties. We have interested parties who are surviving because of us, and we are surviving because of them. So it is a win-win situation for both. So we need to see that their requirement, their thoughts are also put into documentation when we are into documentation and implementation of ENMS objectives. We have discussed that this needs to meet the mission, vision, and direction of the top management, because they are the, you know, they have stated, as we discussed earlier, the requirement for energy policy, and now energy policy is going to be met with effective documentation and implementation of energy objectives and targets implementation. So ultimately, if we can meet this, this will be in line with the requirement and direction of the top management. Once that happens, then we go to next step. Next step is what? Planning. We have to see that what we have thought as a vision and mission and direction of the company, or the middle management plans, and maybe the lower management plan, whatever is the, you know, the plan and the direction of the organization with respect to the ENMS, the objectives are drafted, you know, documentation is done effectively, and they are approved by the desired and required authorities, and responsibilities are clear, as we said, who will approve, how it will be approved. To meet those themes, this drafting is done and the documentation is done effectively. And then provide training. Now we have drafted, documentation done, approval done. Initially we have said yes, that we will provide training onto the concept. Now conceptual training has been done, teams are ready. So now the drafting of the objectives and energy targets is done. So now we need to train them onto the exact requirements which we have drafted by way of 4 or 5 energy management system objective, ENMS objectives, energy targets. So now the teams needs to be trained on this. Okay. So further we go, we need to have good displays done. If something is displayed physically, one can see it very clearly, and it becomes easily auditable. The questions can be asked by various levels of auditing management system. Clearly, there can be a system of cards, there can be entry point, exit points will have various kinds of displays, so that whenever the employees, interested parties, customers, anybody is entering into the organization or at the exit point, they see it, yes, the organization has got smart ENMS objectives for the energy targets achievement. So they also move in line with the requirement, and their thoughts are also moving in the same directions. Available on website. So various interested parties can give their comments and views, so that further improvements into the objectives can be brought about. There are various kinds of softwares available for the implementation of objectives. So get them modified, get them suitable to your organization culture, your organization behavior, your organization's energy levels, your organization's objectives, target, and then implement those software to see that yes, your objectives can be effectively implemented to see the requirement of energy targets and energy performance. Effective communication within the organization and throughout the interested parties is equally important, because if we all as a part of the organization are clear with the smart objectives, requirement, documentation, targets, plans, responsibility, who will do, and so on, and how it should be monitored, then the implementation will become a clear cut this thing into the organization and results are achieved. Then we go next, action plan. Planning is done, so we are now getting into the implementation actions as per the objectives, energy targets. You know, we have 5 objectives, we have energy targets to be met with respect to objectives. So now we are going to implement the actions. We have documented it in the month of November. So now the implementation is going on into December 2022, January 2023, and now February 2023, the implementation is going on. So what we look at, we monitor the various processes. These objectives are into various processes. They are into steel manufacturing processes. They are into loading, unloading, energy conservation activity. They are into logistics activity. They are into the running of the cranes activity. They are running into motor and pump, DG sets, and so on. So performance is being monitored. So we see all the process with respect to the objectives, plan, and targets which we have decided to move on further. Then what we do at the same time, the analysis of this process is on all the time. It's an ongoing process that yes, what we have seen in the month of December was say 85% achievement into stores one department. So now what do? We do the analysis and see how to enhance from 85 to 86 or 87% in next 1 or 2 months. So the analysis is an ongoing process. And most of the organization normally will have energy charts and objective chart for implementation. So they develop it and they keep on looking the implementation plan of these charts and these targets with respect to the implementation of the objectives energy targets, and we see what further development is required as we go on into weeks and months and so on as per our chart of implementation. Then what happens? We are into further implementation. Now the full implementation is on into various functions, various processes of loading, unloading, running the motor, running the pumps, running the solar system, running the renewable energy process, running the fossil fuel way, water energy, and all this is on into the organization. So we are seeing various processes now in the month of January, February now 2023, which was documented in October, November months of 2022. So the processes are on. And we need to enhance the effectiveness of the objective energy targets implementation. When we are implementing it, we have set targets, we have decided who will do it, how the monitoring will be done, how the targets will be monitored, and so on. So we need to enhance the effectiveness. If we cannot enhance the effectiveness, then the whole purpose is lost. So as a team, we keep on making plans so that this enhancement of objective takes place. How that takes place? We update the data in energy policy and objective planning charts. We have the data generation in now last 4 months. So the data is being updated into our charts, and we are with the help of this enhance the performance. This also needs to be supported by conduct of accurate and precise calculations after implementation. So now the implementation is done, various functions it is being implemented from stores to the dispatch activity. We have done all this. So now the calculations needs to be done correctly so that the organization is able to have a data which is coming out of as a facts and figures, with the support of accurate and precise calculations and with involvement of all. We always say that involve the team so that we get correct facts and figures, and we are ready with the charts, we are ready with the objective planning chart, data updated. So what we do, this is the key to continual improvement, which involves a willingness to review policies and practices. So we keep on seeing that how the teams are willing to see that policies are reviewed, practices are reviewed, and processes on a regular real-time basis. We see it on 3rd of February. We have reviewed it on 2nd of January 2023. Before that, first internal audit was done on 10th and 11th of December 2022. So next planning is to do it on 14th and 15th February. So on real-time basis, we are reviewing the processes and making calculations, and to see that we are modifying those activities, those processes, those plans which are preventing our growth and success. At times we slip here and we keep on still moving, and finally our plan of achievement of growth of 2% achievement into the energy targets and performance is not there. We lose by 0.5%, 1% because we have not modified these activities which were stopping our growth. Something wrong has been done here. Some calculations were wrong. Updation of data was wrong. Some employees have done the correct and precise calculation. So the growth of 5.2% which was planned into the energy calculation of steel melting shop or uploading, downloading material by a EOT crane has been slowed down our growth process by 0.4, 0.5%, and the success rate is not as planned. So that is, creating a situation where the team sometimes get disheartened and they find that yes, we have not taken adequate actions. If they have, I am stopping here again because these modifications are very, very important, on a real time basis. If you find that yes, things are not moving in the right direction, let's, talk to the management, let's talk to the management representative, the coordinator of EnMS, let's talk to the maintenance team, energy management teams, and see that we are able to take actions to see that growth and success is achieved as desired by the top management, middle management, and as an organization to achieve the energy targets by effective implementation of the smart objectives. Once this implementation is done, then we get to a situation where we need to do effective performance evaluation, review, analysis, and future action needs to be planned. So we need to study the objectives and various charts in small groups and cross-functional team by involvement of even the interested parties and their team and the customers and the vendors and suppliers, because everybody can give inputs and they can always give feedbacks. Analysis can be done by various teams here. Okay, even many organizations have quality circles. Let's involve them so that they also put inputs and they also implement the objectives with respect to ENMS effectively for continual improvement into the organization. Now, February has come, 3.5 months of implementation are gone into my ABC manufacturing company. Now we have got ample data available with us. We have got various techniques available with us to do the analysis of the data, monitor the data which is there available in hard and soft copy, whatever way we are collecting it into the software hardware. So we need to bring out the facts and figures from here. And once we have the effective data available of 4 months, then we are conducting the effective internal audit. We might have done first round in the month of December or January. Now the second internal audit is going to be conducted in the month of February, 14, 15 maybe the plan. It needs to be conducted by independent, trained and deemed competent team of internal auditors. Okay. Internal auditing is also a requirement of management systems always. Sometimes we see that organizations before the standards ENMS came into picture, they were also again going for energy conservation, energy effective utilization and SEUs activities and so on. But they were not going for maybe certification. But yes, they were conducting internal audits, second party audits, sometimes the third party audits also by independent and trained auditors who understand the concept and they are competent enough to see that they understand the concepts of energy management system and they understand the objective and energy targets. They are trained enough to conduct and they are deemed competent internal auditors. And now we have got internal auditing done in last 3 days, and now we have got the data by way of observations and siege and various other points available for the focus of management to see that our objective and energy charts are being implemented effectively. So now we have got the data from here. We have further conducted effective internal audit. So now we go where? we go for a effective energy review meeting into clause 9 when we are conducting the management review meeting, energy review meeting. Let's not go by the meeting without having the effective data and the documents and the files in our hands with the energy managers, energy management teams. If we conduct a meeting without having effective data, without having the reports of the internal auditors in our hands, and the management team is not ready with that kind of a situation, then results will not be in line with our requirement which we have documented, which we have implemented, and which we have thought of as targets of 4.2, 5.3% or 99.1% achievement, whatever maybe we have planned into different units and department as per our energy performance improvement. So we conduct a effective energy review meeting with the support of all this here by having a effective good agenda, by having effective plans, and then we come out with good review minutes of meeting where the implementation plans are further documented that yes, department A will have this more resources to see that they can further improve upon 1% energy target and 1% enhancement of energy performance is further brought into implementation, and smart objectives are being implemented and monitored with respect to the responsibility defined, with respect to further actions and future plans of targets defined for various managers, for various operators, for various interested party team, maybe as per the requirement which we have discussed into management review meeting. So this process will bring up what improvement? The class 10 of EnMS will be effectively showing us the results where the non-conformities will be taken care of and corrective actions are implemented. So improvements are automatically coming about by analysis and future action plans. So once that happens, we can think of certification plans and further training of the team. By what? We have got the training and certification links available here. TNV Certification Private Limited, we have got approval from Exemplar Global INC for accredited trainings with respect to EnMS ISO 50001. Also, we have got the certification links available here. TNV Academy is here for learning without limits. We are conducting various webinars and seminars to share with the global team of ISO community so that they can learn, and further certifications can be done with UAF and IAS accreditation for various kinds of management systems. So these websites are very, very informative for further learning processes. So just to recap what we have discussed today is very simple. If we look at from a logical point of view, that yes, there are various steps needed, that we need to understand the concepts at various objectives are documented at various functions and levels as desired to establish the energy targets, and it should be in line with the energy policy. Same line of direction is being followed so that when we go into auditing of 5.2, we reach 6.2.1, or when we are auditing 6.2.1, we can verify 5.2, and significant energy use can be linked and energy performance improvement are considered. Going for further into certification process, what we do, objectives needs to be monitored, communicated, and we decide what will be done, what resources will be required, identification of resources initially and as an ongoing process is key to success. Who will be responsible when we have smart objectives, when it will be completed in 2 months, 3 months, or 10 days, 15 days, whatever, and how the results are evaluated, who will be doing it, how it will be doing it, which charts needs to be filled up. So when we go to clause 9.1, 9.2 and 10.1.2.3 and so on, we understand the implementation effectively. And ultimately, the desired results are conceptual trainings of the team is done, global requirements of sustainable development goals are met, customer requirements are met, and if we are getting ready for certifications, stage one audit is being planned, we see that yes, we are reaching closer to our targets of certification. Language meaningfulness, questionable direction should be clear into the objectives, and interested party requirement, vision and mission of top management directions are very very clear, because if this is not there, then further development may not take place. Organizations may have problems into even after certification if the directions and mission are not met. Somehow we reach stage two, somehow the organization certified also at times, but if these things are not met with in line, then there are problems when we go into surveillance audit at times, because the directions are different. Then drafting of documentation and adequate approvals are key to success. Displays are again very important. Communication within the organization and interested parties is again key to successful implementation of smart objectives. Then actions are decided, action plans are done, and we verify various charts and see how the implementation is going on. Then effective implementation is done, and we go on various calculation. We are able to find out the fact and figures, and we go for success. Growth and success is the plan, and finally the analysis and future actions are coming out of it by effective analysis of documentation data, calculation, effective internal auditing by trained and independent auditors, and by effective energy review meetings by involvement of the this team as per our agenda plan, as per our plan, as per our procedures which we have documented, and then we implement, and then improvements are brought about into the ENMS. So this is I thought I will discuss today, and now the team can have questions if they have any. Thank you.
If anyone has any questions, they can please ask now.
I'm running the slide. Some question may come with a particular word or particular line, so the team can ask that.